Hello and welcome to The Good, the Bad, and the Worst, a podcast where normally we would talk about movie trilogies, but this week we've got a special coming actually. We are talking about maybe the biggest film of the year so far, the 2022 Matt Reeves film, The Batman. Joining me today are...
I'm Griner, and I have a lot of cats.
And I'm vengeance.
Oh, that's it, yeah.
So just a little note at the top. We were going to do Infernal Affairs,
Infernal.
but we've decided that movie is cursed. We lost the recording. Luke couldn't watch it. I forgot to press record. If I'm honest, it's been a disaster. Let me just put it out there that you should watch Infernal Affairs, but don't worry about the sequels.
First one.
They're nowhere near as good.
Yeah.
The whole trilogy is an interesting look at Hong Kong and its handover to the Chinese and its identity. But
Yes.
we talked for an hour about it and we have no record of it. So we're going to move on with our lives, and you should too.
But it was a good conversation, so yeah, text it, message us your thoughts on that trilogy if you have any.
Yes.
But yeah, I think safe to say this film has got a lot more attention at the moment than Infernal Affairs does. The Batman. I think
Yes.
it's been a long time coming. It's been in the works since pretty much 2017. It's gone through a few different people. It was at one point going to be a Ben Affleck take on the film, but that fell apart. Ended up falling in the hands of Matt Reeves, director, most well known for, I think, pretty good films altogether. The Apes trilogy, well, sorry, 2 of the 3 Apes films that we did.
The best ones.
Yeah, definitely. Cloverfield, and Let Me In, a remake of the 2008 Swedish film, Let the Right One In. So a pretty talented director. I think he's got a good track record so far, and he has a history in franchise work. And so yeah, this is his darker, grittier, broodier take on a dark, broody, gritty character. I personally loved this film. I was very excited for it, and it delivered a lot of, not everything, but it delivered a lot of what I was expecting. I think it's a really cool take. Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? How did you guys take the Batman?
I've put it out there before, but I didn't have high hopes for this movie. I watched the trailer and I'm just like, I don't know. Do we really need more Batman? Like, we've had there's a good trilogy there. Some of the best movies ever made. Really, they're up there somewhere. And we've had so many bad ones. And do we really need another one? But I was very pleasantly surprised. I went in with low expectations, and they blew them out of the water in a lot of ways. I really enjoyed this gritty take on Batman, on Detective Batman.
Yes.
Yeah, the action was sparse. Like, the action scenes are few and far between, but they were very good when they were there.
Yep.
And I think it's just a very well cast movie. Everybody, very good.
Firing on all cylinders.
So I was very excited for this film. Have been for a long time. I'm a big Matt Reeves fan. I love those Planet of the Apes films. And I just remember even the news, as we know from our James Bond discussion, I've become somewhat of a Robert Pattinson fanboy, and I was very excited for him to play the Batman, and just everything about this. Man, you got Andy Serkis as Alfred. That's my dude. It just everything seemed to be going good. And as soon as the trailers came out, I was like, this is gonna be amazing. I'm gonna love this film. Those trailers spoke to me. I couldn't stop listening to Nirvana. That first trailer when it's just Nirvana playing and he's coming across that crime scene that the Riddler's created. I was like, this is cool. And I can't wait for this film. I went and watched it with Griner, and I went in with very high expectations, and I think they blew them out of the water. I
Really?
adore this film. I really, really, I don't remember, but it would probably be like Avengers Infinity War Endgame. The last time I was sitting in a cinema, and I kept having a moment thinking about me sitting in the cinema being like, man, this is awesome. I was like, there's specific scenes in this movie where I was just like, holy crap, this is awesome. I'm loving this movie right now.
I mean,
Yeah.
No Way Home would be the other
Oh,
comparable
yeah.
one,
How
right?
could I forget, man?
Oh,
Oh, what a
Infinity
what a
War, nothing for a while.
yeah. like No Way Home was absolutely one of those moments. And for the Batman to do that with like, it's a reboot, like it's a new Batman, new characters and everything. And to not have any of that sort of nostalgia to play on, if you know what I mean. But like Spider-Man obviously was. And to still achieve that, I think is a great accomplishment. Um, and that's the thing. I just feel like for the last 20 years, we keep hearing this is a grittier, darker Batman. And it really is true. Like it just keeps
Yeah.
getting grittier and darker. And like, yeah, this film was awesome. Like,
So
yeah.
that's a great question then. Luke, you messaged us in the group chat a couple of days ago proposing the best Batman film ever made, and that was the Lego Batman movie.
So,
And that is a film that is quite opposite to this. It's lighthearted, it's fun, it's a comedy.
oh,
Now,
you haven't seen it. It got too gritty
oh,
and
sorry,
dark. They had to
sorry,
pull back in for this
there's
one.
some, there's some Legos bleeding in real blood. Anyway,
Yeah.
so I want to know how you reconcile that. How do you reconcile loving the Lego Batman so much with this movie that is dark in every sense? It is visually dark. It is dark in its content. It is, it,
Look,
yeah.
the other day when I found out you guys hadn't seen this Lego Batman, I was legit going to propose we should do a trilogy of standalone Batman films like Lego Batman, Batman vs Superman, because I had nothing else for a standalone, and then I was like, and this in the Batman because I just want you guys to watch Lego Batman. It is so funny, and I highly recommend it. But that's you can't expect a gritty take when it's Lego characters.
So is this what you want from Batman? You want it to be grittier generally, or do you think
Like
it's time we swing back the other way and start to get
Get
I don't
campy
want
Batman
Batman.
back.
yeah, Adam Westy again?
I don't want shark repellent in my live action Batman. I'm over those days. But to have this be like my gritty dark thing that I can watch alone at night and then have a Lego Batman that me and my like 6-year-old son can watch. Um that's fun. And like Lego Batman very much doesn't take itself seriously and very much mocks how brooding and like how much of a loner Batman is. uh it's it's such a funny film. Like Chris Miller, like Into the Spider-Verse, Mitchell's and Machines, which is another film that no one seems to want to watch when I recommend it.
I've seen it. It's good.
Oh, you have? We haven't
Yeah.
talked about it. Anyway, we'll save that for later. But yeah, it's a very funny film. But like when we watched Dark Knight, obviously we rewatched it for this podcast. Like I didn't watch them films and be like, I want grittier and darker and more monotonous and grim and blue and all this sort of stuff. But this film was red, it wasn't blue at all. It was very much
Ah,
different palette. Um,
black and red.
like, could this film have been R-rated? I remember you had some hang-ups about that, Conan.
Yeah, yeah. I did, and
Would
I still
Would you
think it,
want that?
yeah, I still think it doesn't. I think that's the next step. I think Batman gets darker and grittier still, and so in
Mm.
2030 we see R-rated Batman, like, the Killing Joke sort of thing, where there are people dying and there's blood. Like, there are a few moments in this that, I mean, just as a note for any listener, this is gonna be a spoiler cast. We're spoiling
Yes.
this film.
Yeah.
So turn it off now if you don't want to hear specific details.
About
But the
Batman
opening
and Catwoman
there's a lot
eating
going
out
on
at a
there.
restaurant.
Boy howdy. But that opening scene, right, where the Riddler attacks the mayor and you hear him, he hacks him apart almost, and the tool flies away and it's like it's red, but there's no blood. And I'm like, it does a really good job still implying the violence, and it still functions like a horror film in a lot of ways. But I'm like,
Yeah.
I kind of want to see almost for the mood that this film's going for, I would almost want to see this dude's
Yeah.
head smashed in and like, holy crap, the Riddler is
Scary.
messed up.
Like,
Yeah.
because this is the closest we've had, I feel like, to a Batman horror film. Like Riddler is very much that character. And I remember like that opening scene, the first shot of him appearing behind the guy,
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit,
This is
this is
like
dark.
super creepy. Yeah.
Super creepy. And even the way he like lunges forward just like that, "Ah!" Like he makes like it's like it's creepy, it's not what expected. It's not like an action scene like, yeah, it's like
no, there's no
it's
fighting.
something unsettling about it, and then he's just constantly smacking over it. It feels like it should be rated R. I feel
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
there, like this could easily be an R-rated film, and maybe there could be a cut of that. That's like a released on HBO Max.
Yeah. 4 hours long.
Matt Reeves, the Batman, and it's just blood and gore everywhere. But they hold themselves back a bit, and I
Yeah.
don't think it's a fault on the film. Like I didn't watch it being like, I wish this was that, but it could have been more impactful. I feel like maybe, or stood out more as like this is a different Batman. Like this is grittier and darker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of over like movies being held back by their rating. Like I feel like
Yeah,
we've had it a lot lately, and this movie, the whole like a lot of it, I'm like, they kind of they pull everything back just a little bit so they can maintain their PG-13 rating or whatever. Like I wonder if society will outgrow those ratings when cinema dies because you're just watching the movie
Mm,
at home anyway, so nobody cares how old you are.
yeah.
Um,
yeah.
you know, maybe there's an end in sight, but we'll lose other things to get there.
Yeah, and I was surprised when they did pull back because after the success of Joker, right?
Hmm.
Because that was
Yeah.
R-rated, and that's the highest grossing R-rated film ever now, and it made over $1 billion. Like
Yeah.
DC proved they could make money with an R-rated film, and by the looks of things, this is going to go on and make a lot of bank. Like it's already at 300 mil. It's been open for a week and a half. We're coming up to its second weekend now,
Yeah.
so I do think that this is going to go on to make a lot of money.
In
Um,
COVID times as
and yeah,
well.
exactly. So it's impressive for what it is. I'm surprised they did pull back at that. And yeah, I was kind of bummed out. I'm like, you guys have empirical evidence of it working, and the film is very much situated as an R-rated horror film. Like
Yeah.
in all the action scenes, and I think there's a handful of them, but in the action scenes there is, I was constantly waiting for Batman to snap someone's arm or like just not kill anyone, but come close and like smash someone in so there's just a bloody pulp, but they're still breathing, and be like, whoa, this guy is on the verge, and it never
Like,
comes, and that bums me
there's
out.
scenes like that when
Mm.
he is losing it and punching someone, and then it's just like, oh man, he broke that dude's nose. Like it's
Exactly.
just the dude's like, oh, and it feels like, well, that I guess it does take away from it because it's like that scene near the end where the guy tries to kill Catwoman,
Mm.
and he lays into him. And then it's not like this brutal thing of showing how far Batman just went, like, in anger, on this poor guy in a mask. It's like he doesn't seem really affected, and it's like, "Oh, okay, he just punched him a lot."
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like this Gotham more than any other Gotham is like it's such a dying and decaying Gotham, and
Mm.
there's a
Mm.
whole subplot about the drug trade and stuff like that, but you
Yeah.
never really see the effects. Like it's just everything's really dirty, so we know it's a gross place to live. But like
Yeah.
they could have gone further with that and shown the true effects of like drugs on the city and stuff like that. Like really got
Give
gritty
us
with it
some The
that way.
Wire, like, show us some people from The Wire,
Exactly.
like,
Yeah.
that stuff. People like, those are the people in the club, not, a bunch of dolled up people. It's
Yeah.
a bunch of junkies.
Yeah, and I really like that sort of subplot of drops in this new drug that's kind of tearing
Yeah.
through Gotham.
Yeah.
But yeah, similar deal. It's they don't quite deliver on that. I don't know. Did you guys like this take on Gotham? The kind of
Why does
depraved.
why would anybody live there? And I guess I say that then knowing that there is cities around the world that are maybe not quite this, comically bad, but have
No.
huge issues, have huge crime problems.
It's just
Mm.
And
economy, isn't
people
it?
don't have a way out, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that's the whole idea of it. Is kind
Yeah.
of that's even why Batman's stuck in this, right? Is like Gotham's. You see it all the time with New York films. It's like you're born into it and that becomes part of you. It's like
Yeah.
Gotham is the people who are born into Gotham are part of Gotham, and even if you wanted to escape, you can't leave that because you are that place.
Yeah.
And I really like that idea of like this dying city reflected in that, and
Mm.
there is still this sense of nobility. I think in a lot of ways this is the best Gotham we've had so far because it is a character. Like
Mm.
Yeah,
I
100%.
Batman Begins had a good Gotham because it's slightly futuristic, but
Yeah.
then they scrapped that in Dark Knight for just replace it with Chicago, which is
Yeah.
fine, but it doesn't. It just feels like a generic city. Whereas in this, it's like all of it. Just the streets are dark and rainy and filled with trash, and he's
Yep.
like he lives in a penthouse there. His Batcave is an abandoned train tunnel.
Yeah.
Like there's a great sense of space in this film. I feel like even with the club, you kind of know, yeah, it's under the bridge that I've seen the tracks running around the city, so I kind of know that whereabouts they go there. You
They
feel
meet
like
on
it
this
isn't a
abandoned building, and you get this
yeah,
good view of the city. Yeah,
yeah, like there's a real sense of like, okay, I sort of visually know where I am in this place, and it feels alive more than any other one.
yep,
And that's the thing, like you nailed it with Batman Begins. Like I picture Gotham, and what I picture is this film or Batman Begins. Like
Mm.
Gotham had an identity in Batman Begins, and I really feel like that was lost in Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises, where it became this
Yeah,
big, yeah, big sweeping city. Like it's not Gotham at all anymore. Like it's hardly recognizable of the city he's in the first film.
yeah,
Where it
yeah,
feels down and gritty, sort of like how like Daredevil has Hell's Kitchen. Like that's this little suburb. Like that's where this
yeah,
is, and that's his area. Um,
yeah.
I just want to touch on with the whole rated R thing, um, like to show like the benefits of it. Like I remember the first time you watch Logan and you realize this is an R-rated Wolverine as opposed to what we've had.
Mm.
It really stands out. Like
mm,
he's lopping people's limbs off, and it's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the kills are brutal in that film, and that's what Wolverine should be. Um, does Batman necessarily need to be that? I mean, this Batman, I feel like he does, but
yeah.
yeah,
I mean, Batman by his nature can't kill, so there is definitely a
yeah,
line there. But yeah, no, I feel like there's, and I haven't read any of the graphic novels, but there's definitely an interesting drama there constantly about how far will Batman go in this pursuit. Will he cripple these people? Will he nearly kill everyone? Or will he constantly pull his punches and just be like, no, I'm just gonna, knock you out for a moment, you'll be fine. And yeah, I feel like this is really lending itself to the whole Batman on the verge. And like I think that's where this film's going, right? The film is he identifies himself as vengeance. He's not justice, he's not Batman. He's angry. And this Batman is angry more than anything else.
yep.
And towards the end there is kind of there's a natural end to how he sort of learns to overcome that, whatever. But it really is kind of begging to be like this is a violent, brutal Batman, and it's hindered by that, I think. But regardless, do you guys think this is going to be really successful? Like, or how do you think as well it'll be compared to Nolan's films? Like, that's the only apt comparison, I think. No one cares about the old trilogies. No one cares about the Adam West version. The animated films are their own thing.
yep.
Like,
Like,
do you guys?
okay,
Yeah.
well, yeah. So where does it rank against The Dark Knight? Like, I said to Grana when I left the cinema, I was like, I think that's better than The Dark Knight.
Really?
And here's the thing, I think it's super close. Any day, I could tell you a different answer. Um, I feel like, and I think I said this to Grana after we left the cinema, was what gets The Dark Knight over the line, I think, is Joker,
Mm.
and Heath Ledger's performance in
Yep.
that. If if he is anything less than what he is in Dark Knight, I put the Batman over it. I think the Batman's a better film. But the Dark Knight kind of wins because of Joker because that's such an iconic, like, yeah, it's hard to explain, but I really feel like this film as a whole is a better film than Dark Knight personally. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I think Dark Knight wins it. Like as you say, Joker is huge. Heath Ledger's performance is just
yeah,
massive. I think there can be an advantage in being a sequel in some ways because you don't have to, you don't have to establish that this is what our Batman is like, this is what our Gotham is like, or anything like that. You can just hit the ground running, and that movie really does, in my opinion. It really lets you explore Joker's character. It really lets you explore Batman and the nature of that relationship, and I think it just does a phenomenal job of it. Whereas this movie is great. Don't get me wrong, but it's the Riddler is a pretty small part of this film, which is fine. Um, but we get a lot of Batman establishment again, which we've seen before.
at least we didn't see the his parents die
Yeah,
again.
I know. Like, I'm glad
Yeah.
they didn't go the whole hog and like he's getting bitten by the radioactive spider again. Like,
He's
it's
scared
not
of bats.
exactly. It's
Uh,
not it's not the whole kit and caboodle, but they still have to establish how they're going to set up this universe, and that takes time. And I think that detracts from it being the same movie as
yeah.
The Dark Knight.
Yeah. I think there's definitely a recency bias as well. Like, I just saw this a week ago, and I'm still, I'm constantly humming the theme to myself.
I'm
Um,
listening to it every day. Like I'm
yeah,
listening to that score. It's such a good score.
it's
100%.
fantastic.
Like
It's fantastic. I think that's better than Hans Zimmer's.
yeah,
But I do think it's very much a sense of like we've seen a new Batman film, and so it's just exciting to see a good one again.
yeah,
I'd probably err on the side of The Dark Knight being better. Just The Dark Knight definitely has its problems. Like I will be the first to tell you that that film has a plot that doesn't work,
yeah,
but there's a literal magic to it with just how it functions with the Joker and just a momentum.
Mm.
Whereas, and
yeah,
like they're different films. I mean, the Nolan films are action movies first and foremost,
Yep.
yeah,
and it's just cool to see a detective film now. Like we've got
yeah.
a different take on it that,
I really feel like this is our first Detective Batman like
which
film.
is surprising, right? Because
That's
his
who he's.
Batman started in detective comics. It seems like it should have
It's his
always been
whole
this.
nickname, the world's greatest detective.
Hmm.
It
I
makes
just wanted to. You go. Sorry.
I was going to say it just makes a lot more sense to frame him as a detective in the if they're if DCU is if DC is trying to build an extended universe like Marvel. And I know this is happening in the comics, but like it feels weird putting Batman up against Wonder Woman and Superman, right? Like,
I agree.
like
Yeah.
literal gods versus a billionaire.
Hmm.
It's a lot better to give him a different skill set. He doesn't need to be the strong man that punches hard. He can be
No.
something different, and this is more interesting, especially in the light of these superhuman, superpowered people flying around the planet. It just,
Have
yeah,
him be the world's greatest
yeah.
detective. Superman's like, "Hey, we need help. I don't know who this dude is." Like, Batman starts doing his investigating for like half an hour. But I just want to touch on before I forget it because I really do want to talk about it. Like what you said, Conan. I love the whole thing that everyone refers to him and even refers to himself as Vengeance instead of Batman. Like
Hmm.
he doesn't say I'm Batman like every other Batman does. It's and then obviously that gets taken over by the Riddler's goons and like they describe themselves as we're vengeance, and
Hmm.
it's like
Hmm.
he realizes that this is not a good mentality to have, like we're all going to start bloody rioting at the Capitol soon. But like
Exactly.
I adore, and this is what I was talking about earlier when I was sitting in the cinema and I had a moment where I was just like, holy crap, this is amazing. I love the opening to this film.
Hmm.
The
Hmm.
like the narration over the top of him being like saying the date, like what time, that he's been doing this for 2 years.
Mm,
Um, he hasn't seen daylight in 2 years. Like I love the fact that he's just like it's been like 2 years of nighttime
Yeah.
basically.
He's so pale. He's so
And
pale.
he's pale. I love whenever it's like daytime, he puts sunnies on because he's not used to the light. Like it's a small
Yeah.
touch. Um, but that whole intro on Halloween night, the music, the cinematography, it gave me goosebumps sitting in the cinema where all these criminals are just looking into the dark, and it's this whole threat of what Batman is or what
Mm.
vengeance is in this film of like it's just I can't get over, like, I picture it every day. That whole shot of, like, the dude that comes out of the grocery store with that mask, and it's, like, got, like, almost like a sad, scared, like, face on the mask, and he's, like,
Mm.
looking up, it's raining on his mask, looks and just looks down the road, and it's just all darkness, and he's just that fear of, like, is he gonna emerge and just, like,
mm,
take this dude out? And they show, like, 3 or 4 different people, like, "Okay, no, I'm not gonna commit this crime because Batman's out tonight, that warning sign's up there,"
Mm.
and I feel like this is the first film that has really shown that to be like he's this like figure in the night that not everybody knows who he is, or some people don't know who he is. But there's this just like this rumor of this like this threat of like, man, there's this dude just messing criminals up at nighttime, and maybe I shouldn't commit this crime. Like
Yeah.
maybe I should go like get a life or figure out what I need. I need to do something better with my life. And
Mm.
that whole scene with the narration just gave me goosebumps. I love it.
Yeah. I love it. I love that choice of the narration. It's very quiet. Like this film wears a lot of its influences on its sleeve. It's obviously got like the 90s serial killer films of Seven and stuff, but then
Yep.
and Zodiac as well. But then it's got a lot of like classic detective noir films, and all of those old 40s and 50s detective stories have narrations of hard-boiled detectives. So it's really like, in one hand, it's almost ham-fisted, but on the other hand, like it just works in this kind of film.
mm,
Like it really does work. And you're right. We have that moment in The Dark Knight where it briefly touches on it where there's like a drug deal going down and they see a sign. He's like, not tonight. And one of the guys like, what? You have more chance of winning the lottery than running into him. And that's
Yeah.
kind of we see the similar idea, right? That
yep,
the symbol goes up and people know Batman's working.
Yep.
But I think this did, to your point, it did it a lot better in this. It really creates that sense of Batman being more of a symbol than anything else.
Yeah.
And the idea of what he stands for is powerful, and it's great. It's
And
really cool.
just because it just has that score as well, which like you said, you're humming it. Legitimately, the other day, my wife hasn't seen it yet. She's gonna go see it this weekend. I was just sitting there, and she's like, "What did you say?" And I was just like, "I'm just humming the theme to the new Batman movie." I was just like, it's stuck in my head. I love the score so much. Michael Giacchino,
Yeah,
chef's kiss.
he's
Robert
the
Robert Pattinson's got that slow walk down though. Those slow
ah,
footsteps.
it's great.
Oh, and
The
just the
nervous.
sound of like
Yeah.
his boots. It's almost like he's got spurs, and it's just like,
Mm.
oh man, it's like this western. It's this like dark western. It's really cool, and his boots feel heavy too. It's like stomping, like as Godzilla's coming for you. It's
Yeah,
so cool.
how did you guys feel about Arpats as the Batman? How did you feel about him? How did you feel about this take on the character?
Grana, I'll let you talk before I talk for 10 minutes.
I thought it was really good. I really appreciated all the characters in this film are happy to wear their mask. Like they're happy to be the masked bad guy. They're happy to not look like themselves. Like if you contrast that with recent MCU where characters are constantly removing their masks so you can
Yep.
see the star's face so you can get that character recognition. It's
Yep.
and like even the Mandalorian, that not Mandalorian, sorry, the Book of Boba Fett,
Book
where
of Boba
he
Fett.
needed to keep his damn helmet on a lot more than he did, but he didn't,
Really
and
should have.
it really took away from it. Like this is great. Like I'm glad Robert Pattinson did a great job, obviously, and I was really happy with it. He spent most of the time as the Batman, and he spent most of that time with the mask on. Like he was
Like
that
so
figure.
much.
He wasn't he wasn't he didn't run around without the mask on ever hardly, and it was great. I
Yeah.
he yeah, I enjoyed his performance a lot. Like it's interesting to look back at his career and look at him in Harry Potter and
Mm.
Twilight, and then see him try to break out of being that teenage heartthrob to now being a pretty well respected actor. Obviously,
Yeah. I
um,
And
wouldn't say he didn't try. He did. Like he truly did break out of it.
he
Yeah.
definitely did. But I think some people either lean back into it or really rebel against it and don't make any good decisions. And somehow he's managed to at least now land on his feet. He didn't do much for a little while there that I was aware of, but.
Well, that's exactly why, though, because he did all these small artsy films. So he made
Mm,
like a David Cronenberg film that was just him as a character. He made some really weird high concept sci-fi. He made obviously the was it Good Time with the
good
Safdie
time.
brothers, who went on to make Uncut Gems, which is a phenomenon. Like
mm,
he intentionally made small films because he's like he was like Kristen Stewart as well. They were both like we're going to make actually small artsy films because we don't want to be typecast,
yep.
and they
Yeah.
really gained a
We
lot of
don't want to
credibility.
be tied down by this franchise forever.
No.
Um,
Until his
it's so
point, he's at a point now. He's broken out of it completely. I think.
it's so funny. I saw like this like a tweet that was basically like, can you imagine 12 years ago, like telling someone that like Robert Pattinson is this like gritty, tough Batman that all these adult dudes love, and Kristen Stewart's nominated for Best Actress of the Year. Like
Yeah.
it's really a good story to come from, you know, the the dialogue around those two and those movies
Mm.
Yeah.
that shall
Yeah.
not be named until we do that in a future episode of our
Yeah.
podcast.
Luke, how did you like?
It's might be our most requested trilogy, by the way. I've heard
It
from a lot
re-
of people they really want us to do it,
Is it
it
just you,
really
your
is.
wife, and your sister?
Yeah.
mostly. But
Um.
Yeah.
So
Luke,
that's
how
the
did you
thing.
like him?
I feel like a lot of the dialogue around this and Robert Pattinson's performance has been how people feel about him as Batman and how they feel about him as Bruce Wayne. I think both are fantastic. I think this is obviously a very different Bruce Wayne. He's not a billionaire playboy philanthropist. He's still in that I'm just becoming Batman. Like I'm not living a double life really. Like this is my life. He hasn't found that way to balance it and to keep up appearances or whatever. He doesn't care about that. He's just
Mm.
dedicating his life to this. Um, so I really enjoyed the performance. Like, um, like that's the thing. I love the Dark Knight trilogy. Like, I love those movies. Um, you go back and watch it, and like Bale's Batman's voice gets almost comical.
it
Yeah.
does,
I feel
yeah.
like, especially in the last movie, but it's like in a lot of scenes, it's just like it's ridiculous where it's just normal conversation. He's not trying to threaten someone,
Mm.
and it sounds like, "Dude, you need to, like, drink some honey or something," like, it sounds like he's really just, like, like, being over the top. The scenes where he's by himself talking about it, like, "So that's what that feels like." When, like, you know, Catwoman's disappeared and left him on a building by himself.
Yeah.
But, I think this was just a perfect blend of just like, "This is my suit, this is my disguise, I'm gonna go beat people up," and, like, that's all there is to it, and I'm just gonna tell people how it is, and he's Bruce Wayne to be this, like, he really is a recluse. You'd picture him having long, dirty nails, like,
Yeah.
he's just this, like, he is just, like, he's got the dirty, messy hair where it's, like, greasy, and he's pale as I relate to him.
So pale.
It's
I
like,
love it. I love how pale he is. I'm like, "Geez, that's a good touch."
the only
Oh,
thing, man, that could have made this better is he should have had a beard. We should have had a bearded Batman because he's not taking care of that, but,
Mm.
oh, well, some stubble, but I
yeah,
really enjoyed his performance in this, like, I thought he
yeah.
was fantastic, so
I saw a lot of, like, apt comparisons that have been or sort of analyses, and it's like Bale was the a better Bruce Wayne than he was a Batman, and I think that's pretty
yeah.
interesting. Like, he's very much because in that trilogy, Christian Bale it's a character study of Bruce Wayne more than Batman. It's really a character of who this person is and why he needs to become Batman. Whereas, tellingly from the title, the Batman is literally just about the Batman. There is no Bruce Wayne. I think we get two scenes. We get him at the funeral, and we get a couple of scenes of him with Alfred, and that's about it. Like
Yeah.
he's a non-existent character, and I think it's really interesting that the film and Rob Pattinson seem to have no interest in being like, well, but who is this man struggling? It's like, no, he's a guy who's sort of so tortured and broken by his past and by his sense of justice that he actually has given up this life, and all
Yep.
he does now is fights crime at night. His company's gone to seed. He's no one knows where he is.
Mm.
He does nothing. He drives himself to the funeral in this like sort of beaten up Mustang.
Yep.
Like that's just because he's kind of a joke now. He's a symbol of failed Gotham, which is really fascinating because he's the one person who should be able to fix it, but instead he's perceived as not, and I don't know, it's really cool.
I was gonna say it's so well tied in that like the ultimate thing, like this charity fund that all these crooks have gotten their fingers on, is because of his neglect of Bruce Wayne too. Like because of his
Yeah,
neglect
'cause he
of his legacy, the Wayne legacy,
Yeah,
is really what caused a lot of the issues, like the main issue in the
the
film.
corruption that's killing
It's
Gotham.
it's
yeah,
it's just all really well tied in together. It's fascinating.
it is. Yeah, that idea of and the Riddler obviously personifies that really well. Like Batman creates the villains that he
Mm,
fights, right? Like you get it in the Joker a lot, where the Joker is like, "I am the antithesis of you, and so I have to fight you because we are polar opposites, but we're mirror images as well."
Yeah.
And so it's the same in this. Like the Riddler is very much inspired by Batman. He's like, "You're a vigilante, so am I."
He thinks they're a team. He really
Yeah,
thinks they're working together. It's such a
there's
great
that scene.
scene.
Yeah, there's that great scene where he's
Oh,
like, "We've got to kill Bruce Wayne," and it's like, "Oh, that's so good."
dude, I love that scene where, like, it's literally, like, 3 minutes of him thinking he knows who I am, and then he's like, "Oh, wait, no, he doesn't." He wants
Confirmed.
and
you
the
can
whole
nearly
thing of,
see
like,
like the
bring
beads
him
of
into the
sweat
light.
dripping down his brow. Like he's like, he
Yep,
knows who I am. Yeah.
yep.
Yeah,
I
it's
love the
so
whole
yeah.
thing of bring him into the light, like, literally, bring him to the light and you'll know where I am. Boom.
Mm,
Thanks, Bats. I took him out. Like, it's
yeah, yeah,
oh,
it's
man.
awesome. But his suit, I love Rob Pattinson's suit in this. I love the fact that he's got the like I said, the big boots. He's got kind of like the braces on his gloves, and I'm
Yep,
not really sure what they're for, but it's like they're weights almost, or their
Yeah.
armor. They're holding spears for his gut for his grappling hook. I don't know, but it looks awesome.
Yep.
It
yep,
looks like he's just a boxer. Like it's like Muay Thai ropes.
yep.
But then as well, he's got just like a rubber cow because he doesn't need to. He's not going to get in these massive gunfights like Christian Bale's Batman. He doesn't need to worry about that.
He does take
Or
some
he,
shots though
But
in
his
this movie.
suit is like it's
his suit's bulletproof, but his head isn't. Like if he gets shot in the head, he's dead. But he's like,
yep.
it's fine. I don't need to worry about that because I'm vengeance, man. I'm fear. I'm just
Which
this creature of will that goes into the night. I can't be stopped.
that whole scene in the hallway of them just shooting at him and it's like just bouncing off and he's
Ah,
just punching them. Like,
amazing.
Matt Reeves was did an interview this week where he was talking about that scene. That's all practical effects. The only lighting that they did is the muzzle flashes, and that's all
Right.
that's lighting that whole scene. And it
They
looks so
literally shot
cool.
Robert Pattinson at the end. He was like 6 in the stomach, had to
Yep,
go
and
to
he's just
hospital.
like, get these bullets out, and let's film the next scene. Here we
That's why
go.
no, that's why it took so many years. He was in hospital for about 6 months, just
Yep.
nearly dying. Yeah, I think, on that point, I think this is personally, I think this is probably the best looking Batman film. I
Yeah.
think this has the yeah, sorry, you go.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I love almost homemade feel of all his gadgets and his armor
Yeah, yeah.
and everything. Like, it doesn't feel like Lucius Fox made it in a lab and made it with
No.
all this expensive machinery. Like, he's made this himself. He understands how it all works. And then I also love just like he's got to get around on a motorbike and he wears a helmet. Like, he's not dressed as Batman on a special cycle or anything like that. Like, he's just
No.
On
literally riding
rooftops.
everywhere on a motorbike. The one
Yeah.
time he has
Yep.
to jump off a rooftop, like it's a whole ordeal with a wingsuit, and he's really
And
Real
he's scared of
he's
it.
scared.
super
Like he doesn't want
traumatic,
to do
yeah.
it. He's not gliding around the city like like we've seen in the past.
He's
It's
not
so
just
good.
holding onto his cape and it like magnetically doing it. He's literally got like like inflatable flight suit. Here we go.
Yes.
I got to do this jump. And he smashes himself on the bridge as
Yeah,
well.
he
Like
Yeah.
gets
shoots that
wrecked.
parachute out, gets wrecked, and it's just like it's realistic.
Mm.
And going into that whole homemade thing, like how cool is the Batmobile? It's
Oh, I
literally just
love
like
it.
a souped up car. Like it's a beast.
It's just a muscle car. It's so
So
good.
my question about that, does it stall? Is that what happens when he's about to chase the penguin? I couldn't
That
understand
was what I
exactly what
thought as
happened
that was
there.
what I thought as well. But then I
I
wasn't
th-
sure if he was just waiting to, like, to
he was
charge
just
in.
waiting for them to react, and then like as soon as they start fleeing, he goes.
I don't
But
know, because it does seem like he stalls it a bit, but that adds to
it
Yeah.
it. Oh,
does.
he's literally
I
made this car
Yeah, I'm
himself.
totally fine with it. It was just I don't know. I couldn't tell if he stalled it or it was a
And
choice.
because no
Uh,
one laughed, like it's not like it's played for laughs
no.
either. Like it was kind of a weird thing where it's like, okay, it didn't go then. Like what's happened? And then it goes, and it's like, okay, yeah. But
Mm.
I think it adds to it a lot if it is stalling. But
It does, and that scene is so good. It's the only time we see the Batmobile, right?
Mm,
This
yeah,
film is a real lesson in less is more because there's so few action scenes. There's one car chase scene, and it's amazing, and that's mostly practical effects as well.
yeah.
You got this beautiful car shot to like the red and black of the night.
mm.
You got
I
that amazing shot where he flips the penguin and he's walking towards him through the fire. Like,
and there's like a bat hanging upside down. It's
freaking amazing.
I saw like dialogue about that scene from like I think it was a cinematographer or something like that, just praising the scene or whatever. Um like the whole time, like it's pretty much shot exclusively from two camera angles. And
Mm,
one is like it's Penguin looking over his shoulder. It's literally like a
Mm.
view, just it's just Penguin and over his shoulder view. And Batman's is like straightforward,
yeah.
like he's going after the Penguin. And it's just those two back and forth. It's such a cool scene, and just like the cinematography in this film and the color palette and just everything they do, it's
Mm,
so I think it really stands out. And it's a beautiful film to watch.
Yeah, like you say with the camera angles, like it reminded me of a bit of like Jurassic Park, where they're trying to outrun the T Rex. It's like there's this threat behind the penguin, and he's got to get the hell out of there. And
mm.
Yep.
Batman's coming. Like it was, yeah, it
Yep.
just really
Yep.
built that tension really well. It's good.
Yeah. And to your point about the hands-on feel as well, like the film itself is made with that hands-on feel. Like it's got so many great camera angles. Like in that chase scene, there's a lot of shots of the camera on the like on the door. Like they used to film car chases back in the 70s. So you got like, classics like Bullet and stuff. These old school chase scenes where you would connect a camera to the car. And so you got that awesome look of like as he closes the door, the camera swings with it. When he goes through puddles, water gets on the lens, it fogs up.
Yep.
It's like it feels like you're in there. And then some of the fight scenes, like the one in the subway, it's got so many strange angles. You see it from really far away behind fences and stuff. And there's this real sense of like the film plays with voyeurism a lot. I don't really know what it's
Yeah.
doing with that. I don't really know why, but it has a lot of cool choices about how we see Batman.
I mean,
And it's never that beautiful. It's like sorry, it's never that like clean cut. It's never that pristine. Okay, here's the best angle. It's like here's a look at him fighting from under the stairs, and it feels
yep.
so interesting to see.
Yeah. It's like you're watching a documentary on the Batman, this vigilante that terrorized
Yeah,
the
kind
city.
of.
And that's the thing, like all of the Riddler scenes are very voyeuristic.
Mm,
Like he's literally just watching people, and
yeah,
you hear him breathing and everything like that. It's
yeah. Yeah, it's got the anamorphic lens to like create that weird blurred effect. It's
Yep.
really cool. It's really fitting.
Um, what do you think of the Riddler, Conan?
So yeah, I liked him. I was thinking about his costume, how like you compare Jim Carrey's Riddler to this Riddler. Holy crap, they are chalk and cheese.
I love the costume.
I think his costume's great. Paul Dano, of course, is amazing. Like one of the best actors working.
Mm.
He is. It does a really good job, I think, of taking inspiration from the Joker and that sense of like, sort of he's got followers, he's live streaming his crimes, he's kind of keeping this city in terror, and he's narrating it as he does it, and he carries
Yeah.
on and he laughs and he screams, and it's like, oh, okay. But he's also different enough where he's not just like, I'm doing this for chaos. He's like a Batman parallel,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I really liked it. He feels very scary. He feels very much like a realistic serial killer. Um,
And that's the thing. He's not like killing good dudes. He's killing corrupt people. Like
Yeah.
he believes he's just, and like it's and he kind of is, but like
Yeah.
he's not going about it in the right way. But yeah, the costume I love. It's so creepy, and that's the thing. Like until he's revealed, that's who it is. Like
yeah,
Yeah.
Griner nailed it earlier. Like it's my problem so much with Marvel stuff. Like everyone has to have their mask off. Like anytime Iron Man lands, his nano helmet disappears.
Yep.
yeah,
Like Spider Man lands and
Yep.
flicks his helmet off, and it's just like, where's your secret identity? Like you're on top of buildings, and you're just like whatever. I'm showing myself again. Like it's just
Yep.
this. It really feels like he's trying to protect his identity. Like while other ones it's just like, hey, yeah, I'm Peter Parker, whatever. It's
yeah.
just it feels completely different. And the Riddler's like that. It's like, who is this? Like, if you didn't know who the actor playing it, you're like, who is this guy? Like,
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
not
know.
until 2 hours in that we finally see his face. It's like, that's a ballsy choice.
Yep.
Yep.
You don't see that very much. And Paul Dano's a pretty big name. And I kind of wish that we didn't know he was cast in the role, because I think
I had that thought.
his reveal as this that like dweeby looking dude with his big
Yeah.
glasses,
Yeah.
that would have been a lot better if we had no idea. Whereas for me, I'm like, cool, I know this is coming, and it's still great, but I don't know, it would have been
But
good to hold that back.
I almost said the same comment earlier about Robert Pattinson because he's Batman so much. I was just like, imagine it
Mm.
just all the trailers were just Batman. We didn't know who it was. And then like, we just
And,
get this scene of him just taking the helmet off. He's all groggy and it's like, oh shit, it's Robert Pattinson. But
uh,
I don't know about like you, Griner. I don't know Paul Dano. Like I don't know. I didn't know his face by his name. Like
oh, really?
of course, when he was cast, I googled him and I was like, "Oh, that guy." I don't think I've seen stuff with him in it.
His face is definitely familiar to me, but I don't think I could tell you what film I've seen him in.
Yeah.
Actually, I think
So like
wasn't he in like Little Miss Sunshine or something like that, like
Yeah,
years and years ago? So I think I remember him
that's.
yeah.
from that. But
I think that was kind of his breakthrough role, and that he was in. Yeah, he does do a lot more small films than anything else, I
I
guess.
don't think he has that name and power.
Yeah, maybe you could be right. Like he's, at the risk of sounding wanky, he's in a lot of like highbrow,
Conan films.
he's in Conan. He's in Conan films. Yeah.
like quite like Little Miss Sunshine. He got big in, and then he was in There Will Be Blood, which is Paul Thomas Anderson, a masterpiece, which I assumed everyone has seen, but I realize now not many people have seen.
Mm.
No.
But then he's in Looper, 12 Years a Slave, Love and Mercy.
See, I don't remember him in any of them films. I love Looper, and I don't even remember him in that. So
Yeah, okay. Well, I don't know, yeah, maybe then maybe it worked for other people because they didn't know him, but for me at least, I was like, I would have liked it as a secret.
yeah,
Yeah. I was just gonna say the Riddler is such a good choice. If you want to introduce like a detective Batman as well as like a Gotham character, like he's such a good choice because he gives Batman obviously riddles to solve, but he
Mm.
also, particularly in this plot, he's exposing Gotham and exposing its corruption and stuff like that. And it's just a really good way to just straight away immerse you in this new Gotham, this new Batman that we're getting. It's just such a smart choice.
Yeah. What do you guys think it almost goes too far the grounded way? Like each iteration of Batman gets more grounded. And so we had the Joker he painted his face up, and this one we got the Riddler who's just wearing an army coat and wraps his head in cellophane. Do you guys think it, and like Penguin's a good example. There's nothing penguiny about him except his waddle that you barely see.
Mm.
Do you guys Do you ever think maybe they've gone too far the grounded way, or should they have gone?
No,
No,
you can't go back to zaniness. I feel
but not even
like
full zany, but like adding. Maybe he's got a weird deformed nose, or maybe the
he
Riddler.
does have a bit of a beak
He
in
does,
this, I feel
yeah.
like.
I
He does.
don't know.
But that scene of him waddling because his legs are tied up is hilarious, though, where he's just very purposely
We,
waddling like a
you
penguin.
see
But
him in a couple of scenes when he's walking to the car. Again, a reason why it's great. They never focus on it, but you do see him briefly walking somewhere, and he does have a waddle.
yeah,
And it's like, oh yeah, they don't make it explicit that he's the Riddler, he's the Penguin because he waddles. But if
it's
you're
not like
watching,
some thugs like, oh, there he goes with that distinct waddle of his. You know,
exactly,
that's why they call him the penguin.
exactly,
Ah,
it's
you
you're
know.
just like, oh,
But man, how good's the penguin? Like that's a person you could say like who wasn't cast,
I
and
I
people
totally forgot that it was Colin Farrell, isn't it?
Colin Farrell.
I
Farrell.
totally forgot that it was even him until you mentioned it. I was like, oh yeah, totally forgot that he was cast in this movie.
He is
Yeah,
unrecognizable.
Yeah,
Like it's nuts.
it's
Just
it's such. Apparently, who was it? Was it the guy that plays Falcone? I forget his name. Great
John
actor.
Turturro.
Yeah, he didn't know it was him. Like he didn't know it
Sort
was
of.
him, and like was talking to him, and was like, "Oh shit, it's Colin!" Like it's crazy. And apparently, they sent him to Starbucks in the costume to like
Yeah,
order stuff, and obviously no one recognized him, but he had got a bunch of weird stares because they were like, "This
yeah.
dude looks weird."
People were intimidated by him.
But yeah, it's done so well too, and like I love that he's not like over the top. He is just this big mob boss dude, but
Hmm.
not like he's sending penguins after Batman or anything like
No,
that,
no
his pet
penguin
penguins
bombs.
or anything like that. I way prefer this approach of going I really want to see the rogue gallery of Batman done in like a grounded way.
but there's so many rogues that like don't fit that very well. Like, how do
Yeah.
you do Mister Freeze? How do you do Killer Croc? How do you do
How do
Poison
you,
Ivy?
how
Like,
do you do Clayface, right? Clayface is literally a man made of clay. Like, how do you do this? Yeah. There are some you
Yeah,
can't do.
that's why you watch Lego Batman for those ones. And Calendar
Okay.
Man.
I
Yeah.
don't, I don't know. I don't know if they just slowly introduce some more out there villains. Maybe that works. But I mean, I don't want this. I don't know. I don't want 17 Robert Pattinson Batman movies either.
So there is a intended, at least I don't know if it's fully confirmed, but there are two sequels planned. So that's a good, and two
Tril-
spin-off shows, one of which
Trilogy's
is a
fine,
penguin.
but
So you're happy with that? You want to see a trilogy of this?
yeah, I
Mm,
think so. I think it makes. I think trilogies make a lot of sense for comic book characters where you've got you know there's arcs and stuff already ready to go that you can
Mm,
adapt. As long as they're built like that from the start. You know, I hate when they just tack on some sequels that don't make any sense. But this movie's obviously set up for more. Like, there's nothing about this movie that doesn't set it up for another movie.
yeah.
That's the thing. I came into this very much thinking this was standalone and going to be standalone ever since it was announced. Like, and obviously because it was originally Batfleck and then it got changed to this. And I looked at it as like, I was like, oh, they're doing a Joker standalone film and they're doing a Batman standalone film with these different directors that are outside of the DC EU. And
Mm.
obviously, this isn't part of Justice League or anything like that. Thank the Lord. But like I came in expecting it to be standalone. After watching it, I'm like, I want more. I really do. Like this is my Batman now. I don't want to see Batfleck again. As good as he was in
I,
whatever,
I still like Ben Affleck as Batman. But
so do I. And like, I think there's a lot of stuff that's done well in Batman vs Superman, especially fight scenes where he feels like the Arkham Batman. Like, just
yeah, he's a tank of a man.
Mm.
it's great. And but yeah, this is like I am very much invested in this universe now. Um, I think Catwoman was great. Zoe Kravitz was awesome as Catwoman. I
Mm.
think their chemistry was amazing.
The sexual
S-
tension is palpable.
But do you,
Man,
do you think she even comes back if there's a sequel? I doubt it.
Jeez, I hope so.
I feel
she's
like
coming
she got
back.
out, right? Like, that's her whole.
Uh,
Maybe the third
yes,
one
I feel like something I like about this as well from reading about the reception is that all the actors in this seem to be really
on
happy
board.
with what they've done. You see it with a lot of them, like Robert Downey Jr. wanted to get out of the MCU. Like a lot of these guys who are tied in for massive contracts and stuff, they want to once they finish them or they're on the press tours and they're sick of it. They're like, I don't want to be typecast as I'm done playing this character. Everyone seems to really be into this take on Batman and Matt Reeves' sort of vision for it.
And yeah, like I think they all get along with each other. Like,
Mm,
I've seen so many interviews of Zoe Kravitz and Robert Pattinson like having fun, like on
yeah,
press tours and stuff like that. And they're doing a lot of photo shoots and everything like that. It seems like their chemistry is really good, and I think
yeah,
yeah, it just seems like we're in for a long haul with this series.
yeah.
I feel.
Yeah, I kind of knew this was coming. Like, even though they did the standalone Joker, and then they're doing this, and it was like, oh, maybe DC just does one-offs of everything. But I think it was always on the cards, right? To just they'd eventually start to do more or crossover things. They can't help
I
themselves.
mean, it all depends on the success. If this had bombed, then that's it, you know.
Yeah,
I'm not
But
asking for
yeah,
like a extended universe. So like, give me a trilogy. I'm happy with that.
leave it at
I
that. Yeah,
leave it as a Batman trilogy. I don't want any other heroes coming in. Like, I don't want Superman. I don't want any other people showing up unless you make like Peacemaker the villain of number 2 or something. But um, that's the thing. I want it to be another detective film. I want detective stories. I want, obviously some other villains don't lend themselves as well as the Riddler does to detective work, but Joker's definitely a start.
yeah. So next, that's the theory, right? So Barry. It's not Keoghan. He's Irish. It's Barry.
Keegan. It's
No,
Keegan,
it's
isn't it?
no, it's his because it's an Irish name, so it's different. It's like Barry Keoghan or something. But either way, we'll call him Barry Keoghan because that's how it's spelled.
Yes.
So he's in this as the Joker. He's uncredited, but it's very clearly. I don't know how anyone could not guess that was Joker.
They like
They
Matt
must be
Reeves has
dumb.
confirmed it's Joker. He said it's
Mm.
yeah. And
Yeah.
there was another scene that they'd shot earlier, but they removed because they thought it'd be too much of it. But
Mm.
yeah, but then again, he said there's no confirmation that he's going to be back in the second film if there is a second film. He was like, it's just a little tease for comic fans or whatever. But
Yeah. What did you guys
Comic
feel of
fans,
this?
isn't Joker's like the most notable Batman villain ever?
if you know your
What
comics,
a little wink and nod for our fans. Come on now.
this is the lesser known comic villain, the
Yeah.
Joker.
Because I don't know. This scene didn't work for me.
It
Yeah,
It's
felt
neither.
unnecessary.
yeah. This feels like the MCU post-credit scene that you get, but for some reason it's in this standalone film in the movie as well. It's
Mm.
This should have been the post-credit scene. If this is the post-credit scene, it's a fun, like, maybe they'll expand on that, maybe they won't. But
mm,
since the post-credit scene was literally a green question mark on a screen, um,
A website
and
flashed up for a second. Don't forget about
it
a website.
did,
yeah, that's
it
right.
did, and there's a countdown or something going on at the moment on that website. But like that's the thing. It felt so much like a post-credit scene,
Yeah.
and it should have been there really because yeah.
Yeah, it's because it seems like the most natural choice for this to go. The Joker has always sort of been the quintessential Batman villain.
Do we want
But
another one?
Yeah, do we want
no,
another Joker?
I'm on the same page. I'm like, I mean, look, again, when Nolan made his trilogy, everyone was like, that's Batman. Batman's been done. We can't get better than that. And now here we are being like, this is a great take, potentially better than some of his films. So I'm like, a different take on the Joker is always interesting. But
I mean,
I'm on the same line. I just want to see other villains. I don't want to
Mm.
see that.
the problem with it now is I would 100% be like, I'm keen for another take. After Heath Ledger and everything like that, if we hadn't gotten Joaquin Phoenix in like an Oscar nominated performance 2 years ago, like
Yeah,
hell, man, I loved that film so much. I'd even be keen to see that Joker in this, like in Batman. Like,
that's one theory, right? But
I would love to see that Batman interact with that Joker because that's cool. And that may be our crossover to get an
I feel like
R-rated
that's
one.
so strange though. Like
yeah,
that
I
Joker
know,
that Joker doesn't I don't think it works with
as a villain,
the timeline
well
doesn't work.
timeline
Yeah,
obviously doesn't work, but he's not anyway, that's a whole
it'd be
other
an old
discussion. But
Joker.
that Joker's not a
yeah,
fighter. He's not even like he's
no,
just chaos, which is fine for his character. But he doesn't feel like he's on a big enough scale to take on Batman.
yeah, I
No,
agree.
He's killing TV hosts. That's it. Like he's not.
but he's uniting people. That's like a
Oh, I love the idea of him existing earlier in the timeline, and that's why there's all those guys with the clown makeup at the start. Like he still
Yeah.
inspired people to
Mm.
that day. Like, I'm fine with that, and
Especially 'cause
the
it's on a
current Joker
subway.
being inspired by that, like, it all makes sense to me that way. But yeah,
Yeah.
we don't
'Cause
need
all
him
of that
and
was on a
Batman
subway in
interacting.
Joker.
That's a really cool idea. That's, you guys know how much I love Watchmen in the TV series. And that
Mhm.
plays into that whole thing where Rorschach becomes a symbol, and so these
Mm.
people are taking on the Rorschach identity. That would be a really cool way to tie it in, actually. Like the Joker has sort of made this influence.
The myth of the
Yeah,
Joker.
Mm.
because again, like I was saying before, the Riddler in this feels very Jokery. Like he's got a lot of Joker vibes. I feel like getting
I feel
Joker
like
straight
they've
after it would
always,
be
been similar.
shared territory. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think if we went too far as like this is another criminal mastermind holding the city at ransom, but no, we literally had that character. You can't make him that much different. But speaking of the Riddler, how do you guys feel about the how do you guys feel about the pretty clear, I think, incel and QAnon vibes of it all? So it's got a lot of real world implications. Luke, as you joked about before, it's very reminiscent of marching on the Capitol.
Yep.
And like this film was obviously being conceived long before that happened, back in 2017, 2018. So
But there's 100%
some
influence
it is,
in
but
here.
that's it. Some of it feels even more like too real now. Like I don't know. Do you guys feel like it
Mhm.
worked? Do you guys think it was poor choice?
It even gets weirder when you look way back at like the shooting that happened at a Batman screening, because
Mm,
people were identifying with the Joker, and like
yeah.
it gets really twisted and incestual. But yeah,
But if you want to tell a realistic, grounded thing in reality, that is the unfortunate reality of our world. Is this shit's going on? So
Mm,
it's like it felt real, and it did feel kind of like, oof. But I believed it because of that. Like I'm like, yeah, this would happen. Like
mm.
this would happen. 100%, it would happen.
yeah.
Are you saying you think it was like on the nose or something, Conan? I don't think I've heard any criticism of it personally.
No, things like this happen.
Well, I mean,
There's
Ben Shapiro hates it because he thinks it's woke.
Ben Shapiro hates everything.
yeah, we're
Yeah.
not going to talk about Ben Shapiro
No.
or his sister, but we could talk about his sister. Either way, what happened when anything like this happens, when there's ever a film that's content is too reflective of the real world, there's generally a concern, right, about it being I don't know, I guess being insensitive is the main issue. It's like, is this insensitive or is it possibly removing the agency from that and saying, oh, it's a plot in a superhero film, so it's like it kind of removes its legitimacy or it makes it seem less serious than it is. There's always generally discourse about this,
Mm.
like how these things are turned. I can't remember what it was, but there was another film recently. Oh, well, Joker's a good example of it.
Joker was 100%.
Yeah, where Joker was very much like this is gonna. There was fear it was going to become an incel calling card, and everyone was going to be like, "That's us. That's why we do this, guys. Don't you understand now?" And you know, a lot of its criticism came from that, and there is a fair complaint to be leveled at the film, where it's like you are, maybe you're providing an excuse by being like saying, "Hey, look at this thing," and potentially the same issue lies here, where the Riddler is, like you said, Luke, the Riddler is killing bad people. He's exposing corruption. He's doing what Batman does essentially.
Yeah.
But then by tying that into incel QAnon conspiracies, mass shootings, raid on capitals, is it saying, oh, well, okay, I see why it's good to do that? Is it excusing it? Is it in bad taste? From like
Yeah.
me personally, I have no issue with this. And I feel like I talk a lot about this, where I have no issue with depicting anything, exploring anything. Anything can be made fun of. It's just the rules of the world. And so I like it when it's sort of like, hey, this is a real world issue explored in this field. I think this does it mostly well.
I think it's a loose enough connection to not get your knickers in a knot, in my opinion. Like, it
Mm.
definitely plays into the. I like that scene where he's like, "Don't forget to like and subscribe." Essentially, when he's talking to his followers online, like he felt like a real YouTuber there for a minute. But I don't know. I get the analogy, and I could see it, but I don't feel it was like super overt, or didn't feel like it was pushing an agenda.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I agree. I found the live streaming stuff very realistic of like the way he's just chatting like, "Hey guys,
Yeah.
it's me." Like he's not doing a Riddler video of like, "This is our message." He's literally just like, thanks for the tips about a gun. Like he's like, really appreciate it. Like
Yeah.
drop a like below and sub for another 12 months, guys. But
Mm,
yeah, like I 100% when I was watching it drew the comparisons in my head.
mm.
But I think they're so prevalent in society that it's hard not to at the moment. But it didn't take it
Yeah.
away from me. And I think if you watch this film 20 years down the line when we've achieved world peace, I don't think it'll be like, oh, that's a bit dated. People don't do that stuff anymore. But
What's
yeah,
happened? Has Russia taken Ukraine in that scenario, or has Ukraine
definitely
taken
not.
Russia?
Definitely not. Let's not get
No.
into that
Um,
because they can't watch Batman. Anyway, so spoilers.
oh, sad. All right. A final thought I had at least. How do you guys think this film sort of has a message, a thesis, a moral, its take on morality? Do you think it has something? Do you think it makes a point? Does its point work? Because I guess for my idea, I feel like the film's trying to sort of hint at the idea of wearing a mask. Yeah, wearing a mask is his attempt to heal, and wearing a mask is your attempt to kind of right the wrongs. And at the end, it's kind of saying that's not the thing. Like Batman learns pretty clearly in this. He's like, you can't be vengeance. You can't stop all the criminals in Gotham. You can't actually do what he sets out to do. But being a hero means helping people. And that's why you see him at the end helping them out, covered in
Mm,
dirt. And it's kind of, he has that
great
transformation, I
shot.
guess. It's a really good visual. And
Yeah.
that sort of idea of, okay, he's learning now, well, I can't just be going around fighting people. I've actually got to help the people of Gotham.
Yep.
Yeah.
Um, I personally don't think it fully nails that. I don't think it really goes down that path of his trauma being unable to heal because of his chosen way of dealing with it.
Mm.
But that's just me. What did you guys think of it?
Yeah.
Do you
Like,
have any thoughts at all? It's all good.
Nah, it was just a
nah,
fun action movie.
It's not an action movie.
I
It's a
know, I
detective
know,
film.
I'm joking.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think it's a movie that like stuck with me, and I was thinking about like those themes and like the character of Batman and who he's going to be from now on in these movies. Like, yeah, I think it's effective in making you think about and then like the nature of vengeance and where that leads to. Mm.
Hmm.
I think like this film and Batman's arc can be like summarized with like a quote from like another great movie and a great character that we actually did on this podcast. And that's how we win. And it's not by fighting what we hate, but saving what we love. Rose Tico, Star Wars, Last
R.I.P.
Jedi. Her character, yeah. Um,
Credits
yeah,
are
no,
on you. R.I.P.
like that's what we get at the end. Like you said, with him saving the people and he's in the light. It's the darkness has passed, the night is gone, the sun is rising, and he's still there. He doesn't need his shades. Like he's out in the sun a bit, he's adjusted to the light, and he's helping people. He's not just there to fight the criminals, he's there to inspire hope for the good people in the city
Hmm.
as well. And yeah, I really enjoyed it and I haven't stopped thinking about it.
Right on. Right on.
There's two characters we haven't really talked about. Jim Gordon. How did we feel about his portrayal?
Oh, yeah. I wanted to bring that up. I love Jeffrey Wright. I think he's awesome. I don't really like his character as Mr. Exposition in this. All he
He
really
does
does
take that role a little bit. Yeah, you're right.
all he does for a lot of it is he explains the questions we have as the audience. Where
Yeah,
Batman reads a riddle and he's like, "What could this riddle mean?" And then he gives an
yeah.
answer. He's like, "That might mean this then." And it's like, I don't need you filling in the gaps for this, man.
That's the thing.
But he's so good still.
I I love Jeffrey Wright. I think he plays his character well. I want the character to have a lot more to work with other than
Yeah,
being exposition, and it's very hard to compare with Gary Oldman. Gary Oldman's
yeah,
Detective Gordon is amazing. I feel like,
yeah.
um, but if we can get more of that characterization out of him, I'd be pumped.
Right on.
Yeah, same as you guys. I really like Jeffrey Wright, um,
Yeah,
and I enjoyed him in this role. But you're right. His role is to help us along, help us.
yeah,
He's the audience surrogate. He's the one helping us understand these riddles because we're dumb brain.
It's a similar case with Alfred.
Yeah, that was the
And he's
other character I was going to say.
yeah, he doesn't get much. He's really good.
Yeah.
He definitely feels like a young sort of Michael Caine. He's got a real suaveness to him, but a real kind of like edge as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you barely see him, and I'm like, I want to see a lot more Alfred. I want to see their dynamic more.
Man, my heart sank because I thought they were killing Alfred off with the bomb,
Yeah.
and I was like, "No."
Imagine that.
I'm so glad they didn't because I need more Andy Serkis in my life.
Mm.
I think he plays that character really well, and, like, I feel like straight away the first scene with them, like, you get the gut punch of, like, "You're not my father," you know?
Yeah,
Like, it's
I'm
straight
well
away.
aware. Yeah, it's
Yeah, and it's like it shows that they have a different relationship. Like, him saying that comment doesn't make him, like, whimper and start crying and be like, "Oh, you've hurt me after all these years." It's like he's just like, "I know, you piece of shit."
Yeah,
Like,
you little
you know?
teenager.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. He's like an emo teen, and it's just
Yeah.
like, "Yes, I understand. You'll grow up soon, and you'll understand." But, I want yeah, I'm looking forward to more from him as well in
Yeah.
the future films and stuff like that, but I thought he was great. Thought Catwoman was great. Riddler, Penguin. I
Yeah.
think this was a good cast. And we did like
That's
we touched on it for
amazing.
a second. Falcone was awesome. Um
It's such a good choice putting John Turturro in there. Like
oh,
normally
such a
this comedic actor just, but
and a
he's
good
so
guy.
creepy.
He's
Yeah,
usually a good guy
but he's so creepy and just
Mm.
and yeah, that's the thing and manipulative to the point I believed him. Like when
mm,
he tells Batman, "Oh, like didn't you know this is what happened and that's why your father died." I was like,
mm,
"Oh shit." And then it just turns out, oh no, he just manipulated Batman. Batman always went out and did his dirty work for him, you
yeah,
know. And he comes back, and it was actually him that did the thing all along. It's just like it's great, and
mm,
the whole implement of him having this like father thing with Catwoman, as well plays
mm.
on a lot of different like levels. But yeah, he's dead now, the character. But um,
He
really
sure
really
is.
enjoyed his portrayal of Falcone. Way better than Batman Begins as one. Like he's basically just a mob boss that Batman beats in the, like, you know, the first hour of the film, but this one he
Yeah,
feels like a presence, definitely.
I did really like the whole. You hear Maroni mentioned in passing. It's like Maroni's in jail now, and Falcone's taken back, and it's like compare that to again the Dark Knight, where Maroni just becomes the mob boss and he's kind of this side character. Whereas in this, it's really like here's the politics of the underworld, and there's this weird like the Penguin's coming in and he's trying to take part of it, and
Yeah.
something happened between these other I really enjoyed that. Sorry, two other things I just want to mention because I feel like I need to. Number one, tiny detail I remember whenever he's riding around on the motorcycle in the helmet, if you look closely, because I've seen people be like, "How does he, how does he get changed clothes so fast?" You look at him with the jacket, he's actually massive because he
Yeah.
literally just puts a coat over his bat suit.
Yeah.
And there's just a few shots you see him, he's like this huge dude on the motorcycle wearing a jacket and pants. I'm like, that's cool. He just literally puts clothes over him to disguise it.
Yeah.
The other thing I loved is there's so many scenes of like with Jim Gordon is how alienated Batman feels and how you watch him enter a crime scene and everyone just stares.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
this real sense that this guy is a complete outsider. No one likes him. There's a scene in the police station where they were trying to get his mask off, and he's like has to bash him up and escape the
Yeah.
cops.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know. I love that sense of like Batman he's more than a vigilante. It's like he's hated by everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're just
He's
like,
so
yeah, they're like freak, like making comments
mm,
about him, which in like the Dark Knight, obviously they're against Batman, but like they only make that comments about the Joker. And this one, it's
yeah,
like, no, Batman's a freak. Like,
yeah.
who is this guy? This weird dude in a costume that Detective Gordon's letting in. But
Yeah.
he's hanging out.
yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much about my thoughts. Do you guys have anything else you feel the need to mention?
Go and listen to the score. It's really, really good. I
Already
will
are.
be. Yeah.
Me too.
No.
Yeah.
Good movie.
Good movie. Good movie. All right, cool. Well, thank you,
And
everyone.
watch Lego Batman.
Mm, we're gonna cut that part out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on another episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Worst, where we reviewed one film, not a trilogy, but that's okay. As always, this is brought to you by my book. I don't have a copy of it here, The Taste of Iron. If you enjoy this podcast, you'll also very much enjoy our other podcast, Bonus XP, where we break down video games, the fortnight in news and information and interesting topics. So go check us out there on any platform that you get your podcasts from. Now, it's my pick for the next quadrilogy, and we're doing an interesting one. We're doing Predator. So
Mm.
that is That is both sequels and reboots all in one. You got Predator, Predator 2, Predators, and The Predator.
Reboots, sequels, remakes, yeah, all over the place.
We aren't watching the series based off it To Catch a Predator, but just the Predator films.
No. Nor are we watching Alien vs. Predator.
Alien vs. Predator, yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah. Those are
But
both-
I've never seen the Predator films, so I
Yeah.
owned the quadrilogy ages ago, but I never watched them. So
What a weird thing.
Yeah.
No, I watched the first one the other night. I love that movie. It's fun.
So good.
Turn you
Yeah,
into a
you're in-
sexual tyrannosaurus. There's some great lines in that movie. Holy dooly.
I'm already
Oh.
dibbing that quote.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, look, you're in for a treat. All right,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, well, thanks again, everyone, and we will catch you next time.
Bye.
They think I'm hiding in the shadows, but I am the shadows.